Yo, what is going on, guys? TCG back at it again with another video, and today I'm going to be going over my Rowlet Alolan Exeggutor deck profile for the post-rotation format. Now, this deck is very questionable because of the amount of fire decks that are being played, but in this video you'll see that we have a solution for a lot of the fire decks going around. Here we go. Why don't we get right into it? So, to start it all off with the Pokemon, we are playing with 3 copies of Rowlet and Alolan Exeggutor Tag Team. Now, this card here, a lot of people are comparing it to the previous Celosaur. In this deck, you cannot afford to run Celosaur. People might be asking, why can't I run a 1-of? It's because of the major retreat cost. You really want to get this attack off, the first attack, Super Growth, off right at the beginning of the game. So, if you run a Celosaur, you kind of reduce your chances of hitting that attack turn 1, which is basically the basis around the entire deck. So to answer the question at the beginning of the video rather than later in the end, I say you cannot run a copy of Celosaur. Now this guy is really good. He has 270 HP, which is really important because your attack heals 30 every time you deal 150 and you heal 30 damage. So the point of the deck is to set up stage 2s, is to take big hits, heal it all off, and it's similar to the Celosaur deck last format, but the healing is built into the attack as well, so that is one of the upsides. So let me move that over to the side here. Next, we have 2 copies of bounsweet, 2 copies of steene, and 2 copies of tsareena. Now I know these bounsweet and steene are not legal anymore. It's just because I had them lying around and I didn't want to print out the new ones. So yeah, the tsareena is really good because it has the ability, Queen's Reward, that you can attach a grass energy from the discard straight to the active. It's kind of like a Malamar, but it goes straight to the active Pokemon, so you can keep this in the active, tank it a lot, and just build up more and more energy on the active. It's a really strong card. Another stage 2 that we are running in this deck is 2 copies of Sweetle, 2 copies of Swadloon, and 2 copies of leavanny. Now leavanny is also really important in this deck, and your main priority is to get both of these Pokemon up as soon as possible, because the leavanny prevents 40 damage done to your Alolan Exeggutor tag teams. Now this is really important because it gives it 310 HP. That is a huge number, and a lot of decks like Pikarom and Malamar can't overcome that number very easily, so it's really nice to have. Moving on, we have an answer to one of our fire decks, not the Reshizard, but we have an answer to the Blounce deck, and that is a 1/1/1 line of Sceptile. Now, any Pokemon with grass energy attached to it is not going to be able to be affected by Ultra Beasts, such as Blacephalon GX. And it also provides the benefit that you can run this copy of Treeko, which you can find a grass energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Not a grass energy, a grass Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand so it can stop you from dead drawing. And finally, the last Pokemon in the deck is a 1 copy of Shaymin. It's really good because it can heal a lot of damage over time by healing 20 per turn. Alright, now moving on, we got the item cards. Now for the item cards, this deck is really good because it has 2 forms of Pokemon Search, which are 4 copies of Netball and 2 copies of Pokemon Communication. A lot of other decks only have the out to run 4 copies of Pokemon Communication, but with this deck you have more outs to finding the Pokemon you need, as well as finding the energy you need. So 4-2 is the in my opinion, preferred way to go with this deck. Now, to get into some of the healing cards, we have 4 copies of Super Scoop Up. This is really important because you gotta flip the coin and pick up all damage off of your 310 HP monster at this point. It really allows you to bring up a new one and charge it up with the tsareena and attach an energy. If you already had an energy attached, then you can get an attack off in 1 turn. It's a really handy card to have in this deck, in my opinion. Now the other healing cards we run are 4 copies of Great Potion. Something you can sub in here, which I don't prefer, but a lot of people might want, is mixed herbs instead of these, because you can heal off the special conditions, especially against Raichu and Raichu Tag Team, which paralyzes you. But we do have an answer for that card. I will get into that later, as well as the Super Scoop Ups, which can answer that card. So 4 copies of Great Potion, really good for healing. Now, as well as our leavanny prevents 40 damage, Choice Helmet also prevents 30 more damage. So, if you have leavanny and Choice Helmet out, you are preventing 70 damage per turn. That is insane. They're really good for taking hits. You're now at 340 HP, pretty much. For our drawing items, we have 3 copies of Acro and 2 copies of Judge Whistle. As you'll see later, we run a lot of copies of Judge, so being able to recycle them and disrupting your opponent is really good with Judge Whistle. Going into the supporters, we have 4 copies of Lillie. Very standard nowadays. You just want to get the ball rolling early. Next, we have 4 copies of Judge. Judge is really, really important in this deck. You really want to disrupt your opponent every single turn so they miss pieces of their combo and are not able to knock you out. It's really, really good to have 4 copies of Judge and 2 copies of Judge Whistle. It means you don't even need Reset Stamp. You can just keep shuffling their hand every turn and hope that does the trick. Now for our last supporters, we have 2 copies of Gardenia. Gardenia is really, really handy in healing the Pokemon 80 HP, so you can really get the Pokemon down to a low amount of damage in a quick amount of time with that supporter. Now moving on to our stadiums and our energy cards, we have 1 copy of Life Forest. This is our answer to Raichu and Raichu Tag Team because it can heal 60 damage and all special conditions, so it can get rid of that pesky paralysis. And then we also have 1 copy of Viridian Forest so that we can search out our energy whenever we want. Lastly, we got the energy cards. We got 7 copies of Grass Energy. That's going to do it for this episode of post-rotation deck profiles, but I hope you guys enjoyed and hope you have a lot of fun with this deck. It might not be the most competitive deck in the world, but it is a lot of fun when you're able to deny your opponent a lot of prizes. So I'm going to throw up a list on screen right now for you guys to check out. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.